Hello, good morning, everybody.
Professor, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I couldn't make it yesterday, but I'm sure Professor Leke was with you yesterday.
Sure, he was, sir.
Yes, sir.
I was on the road. I'm in Maraba. I speak with you now. So I decided to take yesterday. And according to what he said, he has been able to finish the part with you. Is that so?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So we are going to round up today. And, I am going to also send you the slides almost immediately. We are done with the lectures today. The last slide of this notes, there is an assignment for you to do. So as soon as you get the assignment,
Please, if you are in a noisy environment, mute your mic. Don't disturb the class, please.
comments another the last slide, the mode of submission, how you are going to do it, and so on and so forth. When you are going to submit is also stated there. So once you get the slides, you move very quickly and start doing the assignment. So we are going to continue. I'm not going to start from the beginning. I'm sure we know what national and global environmental issues are now. We don't need to start going back to it. So we move to nuclear pollution. I think that is where we started. We have looked at what nuclear pollution is. We have also understood what a radioactive material is. And we have also looked at the various reactions that give rise to pollution. And that is nuclear fission and nuclear fission. We say that these reactions emit a lot of energy and they are used to generate electricity. That is why they are used in nuclear power stations. So that heat is usually enough to generate electricity. So that's the picture of nuclear fission. Has to do with splitting. Then you have nuclear fission, has to do with combination to form a bigger nucleus, and so on and so forth. We looked at the sources of nuclear pollution. We have looked at that already. We have the natural sources. We have the man-made or the anthropogenic sources. And we also, I think this is where we needed to continue. The impact of nuclear pollution. Every pollution has impact on the environment, on humans, or on the ecosystem, so to speak. And it's very important that for all the issues that we have considered, we need to understand what it stands for, what causes such pollution, what are the effects, what is the effects or the consequences of such pollution. Very, very important. And how will you control? What are the various strategies that you can prevent or control when it happens? It is
Very good. I mean, that's small for you.
always better.
Oche, mute your mic. Oche, mute your mic.
It is always better to prevent than to begin to run helter-skelter that you solving the problem when it happens. So it's better to prevent the problem. So radioactive waste, say nuclear power plants generate a lot of radioactive waste. This waste includes spent fuel, and in the case of uranium, the tailings can remain radioactive for a very long time, and they are dangerous even after many, many years. So here it is required that proper disposal and handling are crucial to prevent contamination. But it is very difficult, to prevent because these things are happening, day in, day out, and sometimes it becomes very difficult to prevent. But the aim and the objective is for us to try as much as possible and find ways of preventing them from happening. Then you have potentials for accidents. It is very rare that you have nuclear accidents, so to speak. But in case of accidents, you discover that these radioactive materials can be released into the environment. And when they are released into the environment and they accumulate over time, over a long time, they become, toxic, they become, detrimental to even human health, So there could be accident. There could be accident. It's very, very possible that there could be accident. Are you seeing the screen?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
We can see.
Yes, sir. We are seeing.
Right.
Yes, sir.
And we also need to know that in nuclear power plants, these are plants that are generated, that are nuclear power plants. These are plants that generate a lot of heat and electricity. And you know that there are also these these radioactive materials are also used for, for the manufacture of bombs, because of the way they can, they can disintegrate. That is why if you have a radioactive material, for instance, that is used in making a bomb, and that bomb is released into the environment or is shot at the target, you discover that as it hits the target or as it hits, whatever point of contact, it disintegrates, it disintegrates and begins to integrate. That is why bomb is very dangerous, because it can spontaneously, disintegrate. As it disintegrating, that is how it is, producing more and more, more dangerous nuclear that can, cause serious devastation. So, nuclear power plants, they require large amount of water for cooling. I think that you know. I know that water that is used in cooling these nuclear plants or power stations, as the case may be, can lead to what is called thermal pollution and can harm ecosystem. What do you mean by thermal pollution here? Mind you, you are using them to cool. In as much as you are using them to cool, the water is not becoming cooler and cooler. The water becomes hot. And when it is released into the environment, you know, it can change or alter the thermal state of that particular system or water body, for instance, and that could affect the aquatic animals or aquatic habitats. So land degradation is another impact of nuclear pollution. You see, people mine some of these materials, and in the course of mining them, what are they causing to the environment? They are causing degradation. They are causing land degradation. They are causing soil degradation, and so on and so forth. Then they have the ability of staying in the environment for a very long time. And here we usually use what is called the half-life to describe, you know, how much of these radioactive materials would stay in the environment. So a radioactive material that has large half-life will stay for a very long time before it will completely, you know, disappear in the environment. So radioactive fallout from nuclear explosions can contaminate soil, water, and vegetation for extended period of time. And when it is last,
Olawumi, mute your mic.
Let's usually write it. I've seen it diagram above.
Olawumi, mute your mic. Olawumi, mute your mic.
Olawumi, admin should also help us, you know, mute everybody. The admin can mute everybody, I think so. So that we can have a hitch-free lecture. So impact on aquatic life, we have mentioned that already. Greenhouse gas emissions, you know, that you keep hearing that quite often because they can release some kind of gases, and they could, you know, lead to global warming, and then how do you call it? This other one.
Climate change.
Climate change. Thank you very much. I won't waste time on this. This is just trying to compare, you know, the environmental impact of nuclear energy and conventional energy. It is telling you here that the conventional energy is more, it causes more impact compared to nuclear energy. That is what this picture is talking about. So you can look at it when you get it. Now, in as much as we are saying that accidents are rare, and truly accidents are rare, nuclear accidents are very rare. Now, I just want to show you two incidences. Now, there is one incident in Fukushima. This one happened in Japan. That is March 2011. I think that is the latest accident. That is the latest nuclear accident. Then you have another one that happened in Ukraine. That is the former Soviet Union. That was 1986. So you can see the difference in years in which these accidents have occurred. So if you compare this to the conventional power, conventional energy generating sources, you appreciate what I'm talking about. There was another one in the Middletown in Pennsylvania, in USA, March 1979. So just look at the years. It will take a very long time before you hear that such kind of accident had occurred, and so on and so forth. Then how do we control and prevent? How do we control and prevent? It's very, very, these are common points, like to say that nuclear pollution or radiation pollution. You can also refer to nuclear pollution as radiation pollution because the radioactive materials release radiation. And it's that radiation that, if not properly handled, pollution. So it's primarily controlled and prevented through strict safety protocols. So I think most of these preventive measures, the one that is common to all of these issues, safety protocols to follow, and so on and so forth. If we are able to follow the protocols, we are able to follow the procedure the way we ought to, follow, then we may have reduced pollution or some of. So responsible need to have responsible waste management. There are some countries or nations or states that do not have, any sustainable way of managing waste completely, and it becomes a huge problem. So nations should, find ways of trying to see that waste in such a way that it will have a minimum consequence on the environment or on human. So there should also be development of alternative energy sources. If alternative energy sources are harnessed or are pursued, then that will also bring about reduction in pollution of nuclear pollution, because you have alternatives, you have options. So you don't need to go and use a nuclear plant. We can use water, we can use air, to generate electricity, or drive even some of the, processes in the industry, not necessarily nuclear. Personal exposure. Now, another thing is the way we get exposure are the people who are constructing the road. They have no mask, they have nothing, to cover their nostrils. There are no PPE. You know what I mean by PPE?
No,
They
sir.
don't have. So we get exposed to some of this, and it affects, our health drastically. So mitigating accidents and so on and so forth, and ensuring proper storage. Storage is another. You need to storage. You need to do proper storage in order to avoid, leakages and so on and so forth, and disposal of these radioactive materials. It's very, very important. If we do that, then we will have, some kind of insight. Now, this picture is showing you ways to reduce radiation pollution or ways to reduce nuclear pollution. Now we have the one in the bottom there. It says implement proper techniques for disposing of radioactive waste. That is the first thing that, for those of you who are working in the industry, with this course, you should be able to advise your line manager, advise your chief executive to implement proper techniques for disposing of radioactive waste. And if that is done, that will also help in minimizing or in reducing, nuclear pollution. Another one is to store containers with radioactive materials properly. It is not every material that you may store a radioactive compound in, because these radioactive compounds, mind you, they can emit radiation on their own. And if they are in an environment where it will support them or help them do that, they can do that quickly. So you avoid heat, like heat areas. No, it's not advisable that you store them in an area that is, the area that has elevated temperatures and so on. That is why they use water to cool. Very, very important. Then you consider environmentally friendly sources of energy. Consider sources of energy like wind, energy. That could be an alternative to that, like I mentioned before. Then another thing is, we should also be able to label radioactive materials properly. Labeling is very important, but there are some places that you go that whether it is radioactive material, it is dropped in a particular container. Whether it is solid waste, it is dropped in a particular container. Whether it is glass, it is dropped in the same material. It is not so. It is not done. There should be labeling, proper labeling, and there should be dropped in different containers, dropped in different containers, not the same kind of, or the same. So, and the last one,
Boko, mute your mic, Boko.
Which is very, very important, is to recycle this radioactive waste. Recycle. I'm happy that if you go to certain cities now, if you go to Makodi, for instance, now, or even other cities now, you will discover that some of these polythene bags that are littered or that used to be littered, in the environment, you may not see them any longer. Why? Because of recycling. Waste to wealth. People are now becoming more and more aware of making use of what we used to consider as waste to create wealth. So these materials can also be used in, making or producing other products that can be useful instead of introducing them into the environment, literally. So these are some of the ways that we can reduce. And I also want to tell you that when it comes to reduction of pollution, some of these strategies are the same. You see, this course is interwoven. Each of these pollution, how to mitigate this one, in most cases, some of the strategies look similar. So it's for you to be able to know that for this one, this is what you need to do. This one, this is what you need to do. Though there are no much differences in the control. Now, any question, any contribution from what we have said? If there are any other ways, those of you who are in the industry, who have life experience on some of these processes, if you are here, you can share with us. We'll be very happy. So I will give little time now for you to say something if you want to say. you have any comment or remark to make, question or contribution is welcome. Joyce, you want to say something? Hello, hello, Joyce. You want to say something? Your network is very poor. So, if your network is poor, please you can just mute yourself, and we move to the next person. If there is any other person that is online. Hello? All right. So the assumption is that no question, no comment. So we can move forward. Right? The next thing that we are going to do is land degradation. Land degradation. This is also a very straightforward environmental issue. It is encompassing, and the picture you are seeing here is just trying to show you the issues that are associated with land degradation. When land degradation occurs, what happens? So this is just a kind of a summary of what happens when there is a presence of land degradation, or when there is land degradation. As you can see, what you see in the middle there is land, soil, a vast land, which looks so dry. Probably, maybe it could not or cannot support any agricultural, production at that point. And when this happens, you see, you have biodiversity loss, you have migrations, when people will migrate, you have instability, there could be crisis, because there will be competition for resources will increase, because only the only livelihood at that point was that land, and now that it has become completely, useless, people will have to move and begin to look for greener pastures elsewhere, and there could be, crisis that we have been facing for some time now with the herders and farmers, deforestation, increased emissions of greenhouse gases, extreme poverty that can lead to poverty, food insecurity and hunger, increase to drought and water stress, biodiversity loss, and so on and so forth. So this is just giving you a picture of what land degradation, can lead to. Now, what is land degradation? What is land degradation? Can someone let us know what land degradation? When we mention land degradation, what do you mean by land degradation? Yes, class? Can someone explain to us or define what land degradation is all about?
So let me try.
Please try.
Okay, land degradation is some undesired changes that occur to the soil, making it to wear away or change its value.
change.
or making it unfavorable for farming and other human activities.
Right. It's okay. Any other person?
Yes, Prof. Good morning.
Good morning. On the way.
Yes, I think, yes, sir. I think,
You want to say
those,
something?
yes, sir. I think those are the things that make our land those things that can cause our land to be unstable. So let me just leave it for that place.
Prof, can I try to?
Sorry, it disconnected all of a sudden. I don't know why. Hello, Andre was about to say something before. Okay. Joyce, can you go ahead?
Yes. So can you hear me?
Your network is poor.
Hear me, sir?
Go ahead. Your network is very poor.
Okay, I just want to say land degradation is the loss of quality, decline in the quality of land and its productivity.
Loss of quality of land.
Or decline in the quality.
Loss of quality and decline in something you're saying.
Yes, the quality of the land and its productivity.
Okay, decline in the quality and its productivity. That's all right. That's okay. Right. So I think that is good enough. That is good enough. So let's look at what land degradation means, as I have put it here. I said land degradation is defined as undesirable changes. Okay? Nobody desire the changes that take place when a land becomes degraded, and this degradation or these changes are caused by what? Various human activity, that is anthropogenic activity and environmental activity. And this leads to the exploitation of soil resources, reduced natural fertility, and alterations in vegetation composition, which adversely affects, billions of people globally. So land degradation is defined as undesirable changes in land, or can be defined, because there are several other ways that you can define soil degradation, just like you have, defined here. So in land, caused by various human activity and environmental activity, leading to exploitation of soil resources, reduced natural fertility, and alterations in vegetation composition, which adversely affect billions of people, over the entire globe. So, land degradation sometimes is referred to as desertification or drought. That is how some people refer to land degradation. But The 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development highlighted its significance to sustainable agriculture and global futures. Now, it was in 1998 that enough signatories ratified the convention to combat desertification. So, you know that desertification is also one of the causes of land degradation. And a number of countries came together and signed, you know, at that convention to see that land degradation is addressed, you know, holistically. That is why it is a global issue. It's not just maybe here in Africa. Or Nigeria that you might kind of, which is also implicated in land degradation. So land degradation usually is described by the natural resource that is being depleted. So the resource that is being depleted is what we refer to as land degradation. It's not just soil. When you're talking about land, there are so many things that we find on the land. It is not just the soil. We find vegetation, we find forest, we find so many other things there. So water, erosion, wind, and so on and so forth. Forestation, chemical, physical, biological degradation. These are the different degradation of land degradation. So when we're talking about land degradation, we're not just referring to soil, or it's not just soil. Now, what are the key aspects of land degradation? The key aspects of land degradation are as follows. We have soil erosion. And this has to do with the wearing away of the top, you know, topmost part of the soil.
Simeon, please, can you mute your mic, Simeon?
You know that erosion can be caused not just by water, it can also be caused by wind. You know, so when this happens, it leads to soil fertility and productivity loss. The soil loss is fertility, and as the soil lost the fertility, as you know, it will be able to support, you know, productivity completely. Then you have another situation, salinization. What salinization has to do with salt. Salt. That is where you have so much amount or concentration of salt in the soil, and often due to irrigation practices, you know, that can make the land less fertile and unsuitable for crops. Then you have desertification. That desertification, we have mentioned that already, you know, due to prolonged drought and deforestation, you know, that could lead to land being degraded, and so on and so forth. Then you have loss of vegetation, removing plant cover due to deforestation or overgrazing, reduces soil stability and increases erosion. So when soil becomes unstable, where it becomes, abnormal, when it changes its original form, there's no way it can support, agricultural production. And pollution itself. Pollution itself is an aspect of land degradation. And this pollution comes from chemicals, it comes from waste products, it comes from, a number of sources that affect the soil and the productivity. Now, we have looked at aspects of land degradation, but I want you to know that there are key ones that we may classify them as being types of land degradation. And these key ones include soil erosion, salinization, and desertification. So I may ask you in exam to explain how the following, or I may ask you to discuss or comment on the 3 important types of land degradation. I ask you to discuss them. I ask you to write, about them, and so on and so forth. So I want to also mention to you that when you are reading, try as much as possible to identify areas, the likely areas that the teacher, might bring questions. Now, you can see that in this course, we are discussing issues. We are discussing environmental issues, global issues, national issues, okay? Then you can see also that in each of these issues, we try to define what it is. We try to explain what it is. And then we move to, what causes it. Because it's good that you know what causes it. And if you know what causes it, and you are able to know what it does, and then mitigation, control, or strategies to prevent or control. That is the picture, or that is the pattern of this course. And you should be able to tell us very clearly what each of them stand for, what causes them, what is the effect, and then, how can you control? If this thing is happening in your locality, how can you control it, for instance? So this is some of the information that you should be looking for. Very, very important. Very important. So we have soil erosion as an important type of land degradation. Okay? And we know what soil erosion is. Like I mentioned earlier, when we started this course, I said you cannot go to UNAGRIC or Joseph Sawo and Taka University or your department, environmental sustainability, and tell them to give you certificate, or tell the university to give you certificate because you know what soil erosion is. They will ask you, how did you know? You must pass through the proper channel of training, proper channel of teaching. So even if you know, you just have to be patient, and then you pass through it, you write exams, and then when you pass the exams, you go and collect your certificate. At that point, it will be stamped, bam, that yes, you have passed through what you know. So nobody, I'm sure, is ignorant of what soil erosion is, but it is a type of land degradation. So soil erosion occurs where the top layer of soil is removed by different action of wind, water, or even human activity, like mining and so on and so forth. So this is particularly common in areas with steep slopes. Areas with steep slopes are prone to erosion much more than others, and areas that have low plantations, vegetation cover, and so on and so forth, and where there is overuse, agriculture, or overuse agricultural land, where there is, excess agricultural practice or practices, so to speak. So when the soil is eroded, as we know, it loses its ability to retain water, because the organic matter, okay, may not be there, will not be able to retain water. The organic matter that is supposed to be in the soil may have been eroded, and the soil may become so porous that water is no longer retained, and even the nutrients that are required, making it less fertile. So in extreme cases, soil erosion can lead to the formation of valleys. That is why you can see that in some areas, in our places, various places, you might experience that. At some places, they have formed valleys, or gullies. You have types of gullies. I think you have different types of erosion. Gully erosion, valleys, and so on and so forth. And then in that case, it creates a permanent loss of productive land. So where such happens, it becomes difficult to restore such a land. So you see that soil erosion is an important type of land degradation. And then you have the salinization. I said salinization is the built up of salt in the soil or in the environment. And this makes it very, very uncomfortable or unsuitable for crop cultivation, because too much of salt will kill the plant instead of supporting it to grow, kills it. So it typically occurs in areas where irrigation practices are not properly managed. So where there is high, use of irrigation for managing crops or plants, this, takes place, because the source of water that you are using may contain a lot of, these materials, these salt, substances, and as you continue to use it over time, the salt gets accumulated in the soil, and that could affect your land, and so on and so forth. I will not be able to support crop production, and so on and so forth. So when water, now another thing is this, that if you take salt into a container and you pour water, that salt dissolves completely, as if it is just the water that is there. So another point is that when this water evaporates, that salt is retained. So you can imagine that you are using a lot of water on your farm, and the water evaporates. When the water evaporates, it leaves the salt in the environment, leaves the salt on the land, or it leaves the salt in the soil. and that gets, more and more accumulated. So I say it typically occurs in areas where irrigation practices are not properly managed. So when water evaporates from the soil, it leaves behind salt deposits. That is why, like I mentioned in the other time, that before you discharge, before you release water, into the water body, waste water into the water body, there is every need for you to check the level of contaminants that are there, so that you can, reduce the pollution load. So here too can be done. It's possible that you can test for it and see how much of it is there, and see how you can minimize it before you apply on your land, or you apply on your farm, or apply on the soil, something like that. So this can make soil highly alkaline. Alkaline means salt, alkaline, base, acid and base. So when you say something is alkaline, it means it is basic. And there are some crops that do not do well, when the soil is basic. Every crop has a particular pH that it, grows better, or it performs better. So when the pH is altered as a result of introduction of these contaminants in the soil, it will not support, growth. And in some regions, salinization has become a serious issue, particularly in arid and semi-arid areas. You know that, where irrigation is reliant upon to grow crops. So these are some of the points that you need to know here. So I may ask you, why is it that I may ask you in the exam, why is it that areas where irrigation is the major source of maybe doing crop or growing crop, a threat to the environment? Don't expect a direct question. Don't expect that I will say, list the types of soil, list the types of land degradation and explain them. You may not get such a question, no. But it may be to be in a different language. In a language that you have to use your head to bring it out. So these are some of the things you need to also know when you are reading. And at the same time, I also want to tell you that what is good about university exams is that it is what you are taught that you are examined on.
Yes.
If whatever I don't teach you, I will not bring questions on it. It is not JAM, it is not SSC. Whether the syllabus is covered or it's not covered, a question must come in order to satisfy the syllabus. But in the university, if I teach you 2 topics, that is where the questions are coming, from 2 topics. Except where maybe you are given a kind of a term paper on a particular topic. In that case, it is covered, because you too, you need to do research. You need to also go and read and see how you can contribute. Like the question that I'm giving you, or the assignment that I have given you, is the one that requires that you should go and read and write. So that is the difference. Then desertification itself. Desertification itself, we know what it is. I don't need to explain too much. But it's good to put through. There are some people that are hearing about some of these things for the first time. There are some people who are hearing about some of these terms that we are using here for the first time. But others may feel that maybe this man is explaining too much. No, I'm not explaining too much. It is from experience. Because if I tell somebody now, what do you mean by anthropogenic? Like I asked the other time, I said, do you know what you mean by anthropogenic activity? Somebody said no. and to him or her, she has learned or he has learned.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So patience is required when you are, in a group like this. Even when you know, you keep quiet. You allow those who don't know to also follow. So desertification, like we have been, saying, is the process by which fertile land becomes desert-like due to prolonged degradation. And some of these activities that some of this prolonged degradation, we know some of these activities that lead to desertification, we know them. Deforestation, mining, and so on and so forth. So it typically occurs in dry land areas where natural vegetation is removed, and human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, grazing, and poor water management, increase the process or lead to, desertification. Desertification leads to the loss of productive agricultural land, making it difficult to sustain livelihoods, particularly in regions that rely on farming as their primary source of income. So where the source of livelihood is, farming, and such a thing happen now, you see what that can cause. Now, what are the causes of land degradation? This one too, they are familiar causes. They are familiar points. They are very, very familiar. They are familiar points. Here you have deforestation. Deforestation is one of the most important contributors to land degradation. So where there is large-scale cutting down of trees or removal of trees, usually to make space for agricultural expansion or urban development. So we see that they're constructing roads in some places, and maybe you have trees planted in that area that government wants to, make it accessible, through construction of road. You see that the trees that will be in that area will be removed, or you want to build a bridge, and that may be in an area where you have large vegetation that will be removed. So that means the land has been degraded. You can never farm there. So trees play a crucial role. We know the role of trees in maintaining soil fertility, because they bring about cooling. They introduce, a number of nutrients, even in the soil. They also prevent erosion, and they regulate the water cycle too. Because you have a farm that has a lot of trees, or have trees covered, it makes shade, and the water that is in the soil does not easily evaporate or get lost because of the cooling effect, in that area. So without trees, the soil becomes exposed to harsh weather conditions. We have said that, leading to faster erosion, and furthermore, deforestation disrupts local ecosystems, causing loss of biodiversity. Okay, the animals that are there that have been enjoying the shade, the cooling nature of the environment, will become, exposed to sun rays, and there are some that may not be able to withstand, high temperature, and that could lead to death, so on and so forth. And then, in Nigeria, for instance, India, so on and so forth, you see that deforestation is very rampant. People are out to make life out of deforestation. In my village, there was a particular tree that was found there. What's the name of that tree again? I've forgotten. Go to my village, you will see that a very vast forest.
Madrid, sir.
Madrid, you are correct. Madrid, cut down and then sold. People made a lot of money from it, though. But the effect that, it has caused, the damage it has, left on the land is unimaginable. All right? And now I think there's another one that they're bringing from Cross River. You see hundreds of trailers move this wood from Cross River, and it's being exported. Some said the wood is good in making guns or so. The wooden part of gun, the handle. So it's quite expensive. So it is quite rampant here in Nigeria, India, and elsewhere. Okay? The growing demand for resources such as timber, right? We have said that fuel wood, even charcoal. People are cutting down trees now to make, fuel wood, and agricultural land has led to massive deforestation, significantly affecting the land stability and its productivity. So it is something that we need to worry about. The worst part of it is that if you are doing something, then try very quickly to see how you can, solve the problem. You are cutting trees, then we should also be planting. I used to know about tree planting during the military. I think every year they will say it's tree planting day. You see governors, they will go and get vast land and they will plant a lot of trees and so on and so forth. And some of these things, we don't do them any longer. We don't do them. I don't know, but they were very good practices, very good policies. If it were to be sustained, it's very important. So, then agriculture and overgrazing. It's another point, another cause of land degradation. And this one too, that continuous farming and so on would lead to that. And then overgrazing. You have cattle overgrazing large areas of land, as you can see in that picture. You see how the cattle are grazing, continuous grazing. You see how the other side of the land is completely, without any green cover. And then on the other side, you see how that gentleman is, is doing his agriculture the way he knows best. I don't know whether he's spraying or he's tilling the land, so on and so forth. But I can see dryness there, completely dry. The grasses are dried up, probably due to excessive application of fertilizer or pesticides. so on and so. So it can also lead to land degradation when practices are unsustainable. So, and that is what this cause sustainable practices are encouraged, highly encouraged. Over cultivation, the practice of growing crops on the same land without allowing it to rest, it depletes the soil of essential nutrients. As a result, the soil becomes infertile and prone to erosion. So it is good that after a period of time, you leave the land to recover. Then you go to another. But the land itself is not enough for us. See a lot of communal clashes because of land. So you say people should begin to rotate. We should begin to move from one land to the other. We are telling them to go and start, start what they may not be able to finish. And then another one is urbanization. Urbanization and infrastructural expansion. These two, I think, is clear enough. It's clear enough. Urbanization and infrastructural expansion. As urban populations grow, so does the demand for land to build infrastructure also grows. Sorry, give me 1 minute. Let me ease myself. I'll be back.
Okay, sir.
All right, bro.
Right. Sorry for that. So as urban population grow, so does the demand for land to build infrastructure, does too. So cities expand into agricultural and forested areas, often disrupting natural systems. And the construction of roads and buildings and other infrastructure can compact the soil, making it less permeable and more prone to erosion, and so on and so forth. So additionally, urban areas tend to have higher levels of pollution, which can contribute to the contamination of land and water resources. Further, exacerbating land degradation. So everybody wants to go and stay in the urban area. And as we try to do that, the population increases. And as the population increases, so is the demand for land. Because you cannot just come into the urban area and be sleeping on the roads. You need to have a place. And where government too wants to carry out expansion, construction of bridges and roads, you know, that also has a consequence on the land. So infrastructural development expansion is highly implicated in land degradation. So you can see it could be industrialization. Another one is industrialization. Okay, you can see that. You can see what is happening in this picture here. There is so much pollution going on, different activities are going on, and so on and so forth. You know, polluting the environment. Yeah. So urbanization also leads to the loss of open spaces. Open spaces. Open spaces that act as natural carbon sinks, contributing to global warming. The expansion of cities without proper planning is another factor that leads to environmental degradation, which affects the surrounding lands, water system. So you can see what is happening here. In this case, cutting down trees. That's an open space where it should serve as a sink for carbon is being exposed completely, maybe for farming or maybe for an infrastructural development, you know. So this is a very big problem. Then another big one is flood. Flood can cause it. We have looked at that before. Okay. Drought is another one, and other climate issues. I see that even Nigeria here, we experience flooding. There are some areas now that you cannot live there. You can't live. Some are seasonal. There's some, the devastation cannot be, you know, can only be imagined. So flood, drought. What is drought? Can someone tell us what drought is? What is drought? Hello? What is drought?
Drought is a prolonged period without rainfall, leading to the shortage of water.
Drought is the what?
A prolonged period without rainfall.
A prolonged period without rainfall. That leads to what?
Shortage of water.
Which makes the land what?
Dry.
Dry. That's all right. So that is drought. That's okay. So flood, drought, and other climatological extremes. That is where you have extreme climate or extreme weather. When the weather is too cold, it's too hot, it's not, it does not augur well with the land. So flood, drought, and other climatological extremes are common in many parts of the country. These natural disasters cause widespread land degradation. I think we mentioned things like wildfire and so on and so forth yesterday at some point. And this also affects the economy. So besides environmental degradation, poverty and marginalization are the other significant factors. So poverty and marginalization are also other significant factors. So apart from environmental degradation, you know, you can also think of poverty. You can also think of marginalization. These two are important factors that support or lead to land degradation. Okay? Because if people are hungry, if there is poverty in the land, you know what that means. If there is marginalization, you know what that means. People begin to see how they can protect themselves. You see, in this picture, you have a picture showing you how flooding has taken place in that particular area. And the other picture, you see how the land is so dried. You can count the number of trees that are standing in that area. Hello? Hello? What did you say? So, what are the impact of land degradation? What are the impact of land degradation? I've told you that each of the issues that we treat, we must look at the causes, look at the effect or the impact, and then how we can control.
It's in agricultural productivity.
Sorry, there is interruption. Somebody called me and I decided to pick because it was an urgent call. Right. So we're talking about impact of um, of land degradation. So what are the impacts of land degradation, so to speak? Can you mention very briefly before we look at what I have penciled down for you? Shadrach, it's like you want to say something. Hello? Admin, can you unmute?
Hello?
Yeah, Gata.
Okay, land degradation has several impacts on human. It has a severe environmental impact. It has an economic aspect of impact. And then it also has a social crisis around the area where it's affected.
Like what? Like what?
Is it a social crisis?
Be specific. Each of them, you say environmental, social, blah, blah, blah. So give us,
Okay. All right. Environmental, you have the ecosystem loss, but the loss of biodiversity. That's in the environmental.
Okay.
Then for social crisis, you have most times people are displaced. People who have to move from one region to other. They become internally displaced people.
Right.
Then the economic, people cannot, the agrico-economic, people cannot really farm. So if your major source of income is agriculture and then there is land degradation, you cannot farm. And if you cannot farm, it means you cannot even provide for what you will eat or other things you will have to do with money.
That's okay. That's fine. Thank you very much for that contribution. Any other contribution?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okusa.
Yes, it also has health impact.
Okay.
Waterborne diseases during flood, and then other respiratory diseases that can take place.
Okay. Okusa,
Yes.
Okusa, are you the Okusa that I know? You're my project student.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's all right.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Can I speak?
This bang bang.
Okay. Another socio-economic issue is the issue of migration. As we can see with herdsmen moving from the north down to the Benue Valley, and this thing causes a lot of crisis, farmer-header clashes, and loss of life. So there's a lot of competition for resources and the available land for grazing.
That's okay. Any other one? That's true. That's true. Right. Okay, so let's look at what I have penciled down. So I said decline in agricultural productivity, reduce soil fertility, leads to lower crop yields and affects food security. Then you also have loss of biodiversity, result in habitat loss for many species. I'm sure Professor Leke handled the loss of biodiversity as an issue.
Yes, we did that yesterday extensively.
So that's it. Then you have water scarcity, where there is drought, you have water scarcity. Soil erosion, degradation reduces water retention capacity. And then it leads to water scarcity, increased poverty, just like we have said, reduced agricultural output, directly affects farmers' livelihoods, increasing poverty in rural areas. In particular, then climate change is amplified. Climate change is amplified. Land degradation contributes to increased greenhouse gas emission, worsening the effects of climate change. And then health hazards, just like someone mentioned, respiratory disease and other issues also affect the health of the population. And then somebody talked about migration and displacement. I think Agatha mentioned that, and the Bang too mentioned that. So there is decreased land productivity, which can force people to migrate to urban areas in search of better, livelihood. And this will lead to urban, overcrowding. And the economic losses, like you said, the overall economy suffers from decreased agricultural productivity and increased costs associated with combating land degradation. Because where it occurs now, government, individuals, corporate bodies will now begin to see how they can, solve the issue. And what happened the other time, particularly in Makurdi, where people were displaced completely. They were housed at, I think, international market. Governors were coming, people were coming, and it was during election. They gave a lot of money, but so a lot of money went into trying to even resettle the people, construct drainages, and so on and so forth. So all that you said was correct. I hope you will do that in exam too. So while land degradation presents a significant challenge, there are a number of techniques or strategies that can be, employed to, restore the land or maintain the dignity of land or quality of land or state of land. And these strategies, they focus both on preventing further degradation and rehabilitating the degraded, land to bring them back into the productive, standard. So a very typical one that all of us know and we have been talking about is reforestation. Reforestation. We need to plant. That is why I always say that we need to plant. When someone is building a house and no trees are planted, then it doesn't look well at all. You go to University of Ibadan, you agree with me. You see a lot of trees. I've gone too far. Even BSU, see a lot of trees. And it is quite aesthetically, it's usually, good to have trees planted. They help a lot. So it's a process of planting trees in areas where forests have been cut down. So these places where forests have been cut down, it is very important that trees be replanted. Trees be replanted. It's one of the most effective ways to combat land degradation because trees, as we know, they provide a number of benefits to the environment. If I say you should enumerate the benefit of trees here, we will not live today. We will not live. So trees are very important that we need to, protect. We need to protect trees. We need to see that the environment has enough trees. They prevent soil erosion by stabilizing the soil with their roots. The roots stabilize the soil. They hold the soil together. And instead of being loose, it also improves water retention and promote biodiversity by creating habitats for various species. Okay? So reforestation also plays a crucial role in mitigating climate change. That's why we know. We know the carbon that we are running away from, the trees are happy to, to receive them.
Yes, there are carbon dioxide sinks.
They absorb them. Yeah, from the atmosphere. So it's very, very important that when you pass through this kind of your path. Common methods is tracing, which involves creating series of flat tops or flat steps on sloped land to slow the flow of water. But you see that if you go to some countries, they do this. They do this very well. Where you have slopes, they build flat tops. And those flat tops are built in order to slow the rate at which the water, flow down. And in this case, when you do that, it reduces runoff, because it's that runoff that sometimes brings issue, because the topmost soil is wearing away. It's runoff, soil runoff. The soil is running away, running off. And other techniques include planting cover crops and building windbreaks. Building windbreaks. I think I missed something there. It's okay. Then we have soil enrichment and sustainable agriculture. Sustainable agriculture. Soil enrichment involves adding organic matter. Yeah. In other words, you can amend the soil with organic matter or amendments, where you see that the soil is losing its, it could be texture. It could be that it is losing some of the nutrients. It is expected that you have this at the back of your mind, that you can find something to add to the soil, to enrich it, to make it, rich. So when you add organic matter to a soil that is low in organic matter, you are improving, the state of that soil. Okay. You add compost, add manure, or you add green manure to the soil to improve its structure, fertility, or even water holding capacity. Because where soil cannot hold water, that soil is not useful. So this is especially important in areas that have been over-cultivated. Areas that have been over-cultivated, to find a way of, trying to improve their quality. Additionally, promoting sustainable agricultural practices. Promoting sustainable agricultural practices, such as crop rotation, agroforestry, and reduced pesticide use. I have someone who does not use pesticide on his farm, and he gets the highest harvest. He doesn't. So it is not true that if you do not use pesticide, or if you do not use fertilizer, you may not get harvest. Well, sometimes it depends on the nature of the soil too, anyway. So, but there is every need that we reduce the rate at which we apply, pesticides and even fertilizers on the farm. Because the residue that is found even in the material, in the product, is something. Like someone asked, is it that when a particular organism eats a contaminated material, whether in the water or elsewhere, and human beings eat, will it affect human beings? Yes. So what we are feeding the soil with, because the plants can take it up from the soil. They have that ability to do so. So we need to be cautious in doing that. So crop rotation can help, agroforestry can help, reduce pesticide use, and help preserve soil health and prevent further degradation. Any question here or contribution? Because I want to conclude now.
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Please go ahead.
We mentioned salinity, salinization, as one of the factors that affect one of the listing in land degradation. My question is, how do you remedy it if you discover that a land has? So what do you do to help?
Right. Like I mentioned before, I said that salt it makes the soil to be basic.
Yes.
It makes the soil to be alkaline. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It makes the soil pH increase. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You know that pH measures the level of acidity or alkalinity of a soil.
Yes, sir.
So if the pH is high, then that is from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? That is alkaline. If it is below 7, down to 1, that is what? Acidic. Right. So what do you do to remedy a soil that has a lot of salt or that pH is high? Is for you to find a material that has low pH or that is acidic kind of, and then introduce it into that soil. When you do that, it will bring down the pH of the soil. There are a number there are a number of materials. You can apply even chemical fertilizers. There are some chemical fertilizers that their pHs are low. So when you apply on that particular land, it now, reduce or brings down the pH of that land, maybe to what you want. So that is how you can do it.
Thank you, sir.
Lime is one of it. Lime. You've heard of lime?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Lime. Yeah. Any other questions? Because we are rounding up. And I also want to mention to you that we may not meet in the afternoon because I'm concluding this morning. I'm traveling immediately after the lecture. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'm traveling immediately after this lecture. So we will not have the afternoon lecture. I'm concluding this morning so that I can travel to where I am going. All right?
Yes, sir.
So this is the concluding statement of what we have done under land degradation. The next thing you will see after this closing statement is the assignment that I said you are going to do. So the next 10 or 15 minutes, we will look at this briefly. So I said addressing land degradation is essential for sustaining agricultural productivity. Not just that, protecting the ecosystems and also ensuring food security. Implementing measures such as afforestation, soil reclamation, and integrated farming systems can help mitigate the adverse effects of land degradation. That is very clear too. Adopting sustainable agricultural practices and enforcing policies. You see, this is where we are lacking so much. It's where we are lacking so much. The policies are there, but the challenge is to implement. I think everybody is aware of that. And in most cases, it is the enforcement or the enforcing agencies that are being culprit. So how can you enforce when you yourself is the problem? That is the challenge that we are having. Elsewhere, these things are done, without any serious challenges. All right? So that's the problem. Adopting sustainable agricultural practice and enforcing policies to prevent pollution and improper land use are crucial. Very, very crucial. So taking comprehensive and proactive steps, not allowing it to happen before you begin to see how you can, remedy. So proactive steps can restore degraded lands and promote healthier and more sustainable environment. That is the concluding statement. Any question, any contribution before we move into the assignment? Hello?
I hear you, sir.
Yeah, any question?
From my end, no, sir.
Right.
No question.
Okay, thank you very much. So let's move to the assignment. So are you seeing the screen? I hope you can see the screen very well.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the assignment here. Give me 1 minute, please. Be reading the assignment while
Okay.
No less than 20 pages.
Slides, not page.
Okay.
sorry guys, sorry.
Yeah.
So have you seen the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it difficult?
No.
No.
It's not difficult.
So you are to write on the topic deforestation. This is individual assignment, though. It's not
Okay,
group.
sir.
Okay.
You are to write. I'm going to print them out and mark it, and then send this course to you online, or maybe when you come for exams, I will give you your script. So you are to write on the topic deforestation as a national and global environmental issue under the following subheadings. What do you understand by deforestation? Identify the causes of deforestation, comment on the consequences of deforestation, and then proffer solutions to the act of deforestation in your local community. I say local community. Community is not the same. Somebody who is living in Akwa Ibom is not the same person living in Benue. Some of you are living in Lagos. Some of you are living in Kogi. Some of you are in Abuja. So to see what is peculiar to your community and see how you can proffer solutions. So instruction, mode of writing is PowerPoint. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
PowerPoint. It's not word point. It's PowerPoint. So you prepare your solution on a PowerPoint like I have prepared and I'm teaching you now. And the number of slides should not be less than 20. Not less than 20. It can be 100, no problem if you have the time. But the average number of slides that I want is 20. The method of submission is through my email. It's on this lecture notes, and also I've provided it here. And the last one is that the last date of submission. You can submit tomorrow if you finish. You can submit next week. But the last date that all the questions should be in my email is on the day that you are writing this course. Did you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Any question? Because after now, we are not going to see until you come for your revision and exam. Yes. Yes, please go ahead, Joyce. You said? Sorry, you said? Hey, I can't hear you. So how am I sending the notes? How am I sending these slides to you?
Through our course rep, sir.
Okay, who is your course rep?
Abu.
You said?
Abu, he can drop his number on our chat here so you can copy it and send it to him, our course rep.
No, let the person send me the WhatsApp number. My number is on this slide, so you should copy and send it.
Okay.
So just write me that is the course rep of ENS 701. Then I will forward it to him or her.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
And my number is there too. So if you have a challenge and you want to meet me or you want to reach me, you can call me on that number.
Okay, sir.
Please, sir, where is the number? The start of the slide?
It's on the start of the slide.
Okay. Then I cannot go to start.
You cannot go.
If you're looking for the phone number, check on the timetable. On our timetable, you will see his phone number and email address. The lecture timetable.
Don't worry. I will take you
there.
there.
The phone number is on the lecture timetable, that's true.
I will take you here too. Some people want it here. So can you see it?
Yeah, there it is. Yes.
Right, so we call it a day and then enjoy the rest of your semester.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, sir.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Bye. Bye for now.
Bye.